What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope we're all doing well. We have some major breaking news that happened only a few hours ago. Tom Brady, 7-time Super Bowl champion, has announced his retirement from the NFL. Brady, of course, is widely regarded as the greatest quarterback of all time. I have my own opinion on that, but he's at least top 2. Most people say he ain't 2. Obviously, an all-time great, 7-time Super Bowl champion, 5-time Super Bowl MVP, 3-time league MVP, all-time leader in passing yards, passing touchdowns, and wins as a quarterback. For every postseason record you can imagine. At 45, after 23 seasons, he has retired. Of course, he did the same thing last year. Funny thing, he returned on February 1st last year as well. Came back just 4 days later, but it appears this time it is for good. But only time will tell. But it appears he is officially done with football. I'm not a fan of Brady. I never will be, but he is an all-time great. Congrats on a great career, Tom. I don't know if he'll be missed. Some people might miss him. I really won't. But what a career for Tom Brady. All right, a little bit later today, I'm going to preview the American League and go division by division for the American League. And then tomorrow, I'm going to do the preview for the National League. And then I'll probably talk about the Super Bowl maybe on Friday. There's a good chance I might have Justin join me, and we can get our Talking Sports with Jake and Justin running collab going. I'll update you guys on that hopefully tomorrow. But for now, let's talk some hockey first. Scores from last night: Hurricanes over the Kings, 5-4. Hurricanes came back down 4-1 to win that one. Hurricanes are having a hell of a year, second in the Eastern Conference right now. Right now, lead the Metropolitan Division. We had Capitals over the Blue Jackets, 4-3 in overtime, and you had the Summoners over the Canadiens, 5-4. College basketball, number 4 Alabama blew past Vanderbilt 101-44. Vanderbilt in every sport is just awful. You had number 8 Kansas beat number 7 Kansas State 98-70 in a very important Big 12 matchup. Kansas beats their rival. Number 15 TCU beats West Virginia 76-72. Boston College was a bit of an upset. They beat number 20 Clemson 62-54. You have Maryland upset number 21 Indiana 66-55. You had Nevada of an upset, a bunch of upsets. Not huge upsets because the teams are just inside the top 20, but still. Nevada over San Diego State, was ranked 22nd, 75-66. You had Miami, ranked 23rd, beats Virginia Tech 92-83. You had 24 UConn beat DePaul 90-76. In the NBA, Heat over the Cavs, 100-97. Kevin Martin, 18 points and 10 rebounds. Lakers over the Knicks, 129-123 in overtime. LeBron, 28 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists. Jalen Brunson, 37 points. A couple of things. Can LeBron stop crying? First of all, did that foul call, we're acting like a baby, although it should have been a foul, LeBron traveled. But no one's going to talk about it, obviously. Just saying. He cries so much, doing it for 20 years. Like, stop saying I can't get a call. I need something like that. Like, shut up. Also, the Knicks are infuriating. Even when they win, they infuriate me. They're so mid. 27-25. They might steal the 6th seed. Better chance of getting in the play-ins. But they ain't winning the series. This team needs to get better. And now they're talking about giving up 3 first-round picks for OG Anunoby. I would love OG Anunoby for 3 first-round picks. For a guy who's probably a third option, I don't know. It seems a little steep. We have a lot of picks to give up, but 3 firsts for OG Anunoby, that's a bit much. I might do 2 because Knicks at this point are just desperate for just somebody else to help this team. Need some sort of veteran, just solid veteran who can play both ends of the floor like OG Anunoby. I think he's a great fit. So maybe 2 I would do. So at this point, I don't even care anymore with this team. But 3, that's a lot. 3 firsts is a lot. You had the Clippers over the Bulls, 108-103. Kawhi had 33 points. Bucks over the Hornets, 124-115. Giannis, 34 points and 18 rebounds. Nuggets over the Pelicans, 122-113. Nikola Jokic, 26 points, 18 rebounds, and 15 assists. Jokic is absolutely insane. By the way, he's the MVP of the league. I don't care about voter fatigue. The dude is nuts. He should be MVP of the league as of right now. Check out the standings in the NBA. You got Boston Celtics still in first place in the Eastern Conference. Best record in basketball, 36-15. In second, you got Milwaukee, who's won 5 in a row. They're 2 games out. In third, you got Philly at 32-17. In fourth, you got Brooklyn. Number 5, the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's the 6th spot. You get the Miami Heat, who's playing a lot better after a tough start this year. Knicks is the first playing team right now. They're 2 games behind Miami for the 6th spot. In the 8th spot, you got Atlanta. The Washington Wizards have won 6 in a row. They're now in the 9th spot. Indiana, who's struggling, lost 9 of 10. They are the last playing team. The Bulls are right there as well. They actually have 2 less games, so that's why they're on the 11th spot. You got Toronto is a game out of the play-ins, and then Orlando's 3.5 games out of the play-ins, and then followed by Charlotte and Detroit at the very bottom. In the Western Conference, Denver remains at the top of the Western Conference. Denver's 35-16. They're only a game behind Boston for the best record in basketball. And this is why I'm telling you, Nikola Jokic, for most of the year, they have not had Jamal Murray or Michael Porter Jr. for most of the season. And they got their first in the West. They got the second best record in the NBA. But dude's putting up these crazy, putting up 30, 18, and 12 every night. I'm gonna make a bold take. Jokic is the MVP. I don't even know how close it is. Luka's been putting up great numbers, and he's up there. And Embiid's there. Giannis, even Durant's probably up there. Tatum's certainly up there. But Jokic is just, he's got really no help right now. And he's just balling. And he's got a top 3 team arguably in the league. The dude is just nuts. Second got the Memphis Grizzlies, who are 2.5 out of first place. And third, the Sacramento Kings, still playing good basketball. Third in the West. Clippers are in 4th. And you got Golden State they're actually moved to 5th. Dallas is in 6th. The West is very jumbled, very tight. Phoenix is the first playing team, starting to play a little bit better. Minnesota is the second playing team. They got the 8th spot. Utah is in 9th. New Orleans, who's really struggling. New Orleans lost 9 in a row. Ouch. They are dropped back down to 500. At one point, they were top 3 in the West. And then back down to 500. They lost 9 in a row. They're the last playing team now. Yikes. There's the Thunder are only a game out of the play-ins. Blazers are a game out of the play-ins. Lakers are 2 games out of the play-ins. And then you get the Spurs and the Rockets at the very bottom of the standings. The one's going to be interesting. We'll see what happens. Does Toronto, make moves? Whether it's Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby. Does Chicago make a move? Does Charlotte's shopping? I heard a couple of guys. Terry Rozier shopping. Does he get moved? And I heard Boston might make a move. I heard Dallas wants to make a big move. The Knicks want to make a move in Miami. What happens with Jay Crowder? May go to Milwaukee. May go back to Miami. I don't know. We shall see. Got some major coaching news in the NFL. Sean Payton has gone to the Denver Broncos. The Broncos give a 2023 first-round pick to the Saints, as well as a second-round pick in 2024. And they acquire the rights to Sean Payton, and he will be hired as the next head coach of the Broncos. He's going to sign a 5-year contract worth $17 to $20 million a year. That is a monstrous contract for a head coach. Broncos bring him in. And now it is all on Russell Wilson. Here's the thing. Hackett was horrendous. One of the worst coaches ever. Russ was, honestly, people overlooked that it was a horrible fit. Russ is a guy, he's a guy he likes to be in an offense where he can improvise. He can, call all with the line of scrimmage. If things break down, he can kind of do his own thing. Hackett's offense doesn't run that kind of offense. And the guy was just an atrocious head coach. So Russ was never going to succeed in his offense. That being said, Russ has been around a while. Russ has been around 10, 11, 12 years. He could, if it was a young quarterback, all right, but a guy who's been in the league for over 10 years, he could have adjusted. He made no effort to, if you ask me. But now you got Sean Payton, who's a much better fit. He's a much better fit in, obviously Sean Payton, you saw what he did. He did with Drew Brees. Even guys like Teddy Bridgewater and Jameis Winston in his system looked a lot better than any other system that they've been in. So, they definitely got, if anyone's going to fix it, it's going to be Sean Payton. So, good hire. It better work out because they're paying him a lot of money between him and Russ. Texans hired DeMeco Ryans, the 49ers defensive coordinator. They gave him a 6-year contract. Texans have had 4 head coaches in the last 4 years. In the last 2, only lasted a year. Obviously, once Bill O'Brien got fired, you had, David Culley for a year, and he got fired. They're going 4-12 with a roster that probably was only about, looked like it was going to win about 3 games all year. Then they promote Lovie Smith to head coach, and he won 3 games with a roster that was probably about which is at best a 2 or 3 win team, and they fire him. I'm not sure if maybe they told him if you win the last game of the season because you lose number 1 pick, you're gone. And he was like, screw you, and he won. And they were like, all right, you're gone. I was like, fine, I won't be here anyway. And they bring in DeMeco Ryans. I think it's a great hire. He's done a great job as D coordinator of the Niners. He's been on that defensive staff for quite a few seasons. The last 2 was D coordinator, done an amazing job. Robert Saleh was one of the league's best defensive coordinators. Of course, he became a head coach with the Jets, and then he got promoted. And he's, the defense has not lost a step between Saleh and Ryans as their D coordinator. He played for the Texans. He was a Pro Bowler twice with the Texans after in 6 seasons there as a linebacker. So he knows the organization. He's a great defensive mind. I think a great coach. Players love him. Very deserving. I think it's a great hire. I think the Texans are possibly trying in the right direction. You got Jack Easterby out of that building. You finally have a real coach. It appears in DeMeco Ryans. You got the 2nd pick from the draft. You're gonna have a lot of picks. You got a lot of cap space. This is where Houston's got to turn it around. On the one, the GM Nick Cassaro is still there, but they are trending. It appears they may be trending in the right direction. Arizona Cardinals head coach search continues. It's just them and Indianapolis left as the 2 remaining jobs open for head coaches. They interviewed both of the Bengals coordinators, Lou Anarumo, the D coordinator, and the offensive coordinator, Brian Callahan. Also interviewed the Giants offensive coordinator, Mike Kafka, who's getting a lot of interviews. I'm surprised. Their offense wasn't that great this year. Cowboys looking for a new offensive coordinator after they fired Kellen Moore a few days ago. So far, they interviewed the Panthers running backs coach, Jeff Nixon. Offensive consultant for the Cowboys, Brian Schottenheimer, apparently is a candidate. He's been an offensive coordinator before, most recently in Seattle. Was decent in Seattle. I think him and Russ kind of clashed, which is why he got fired, to be honest. So we'll see what happens. Niners now need a new defensive coordinator with Ryans taking the head coach job in Houston. And they're requested to interview Steve Wilkes, who was the Panthers interim coach last year. He's a good defensive coordinator. His work as a defensive coordinator got him his first shot as a head coach in Arizona. And then he was a D coordinator of Cleveland for a year. He was okay. And also, Titans D-backs coach Chris Harris, who of course was an ex-player, was a Pro Bowl corner, mainly for the Denver Broncos. Last year, he was the passing game coordinator on defense for the Commanders, and he recently took a position with the Titans as their defensive backs coach, and now he's interviewing for to be the defensive coordinator of the 49ers. So, interesting development there. And by the way, the Baltimore Ravens, of course, are looking for a new offensive coordinator. Dave Canales, the Seahawks quarterbacks coach, is getting a 2nd interview. So, that's that. Now let's get to my MLB preview. A couple of small things first. Blue Jays signed Chad Green, 2-year deal for $8.5 million. They'll probably get him around July, August this year, coming back from Tommy John, and of course, and then they'll have in 2024 they'll have him for the full year. He's coming off Tommy John, when healthy, he's a very reliable reliever. He can give you multiple innings. He had a nice career with the Yankees as a reliever. The Red Sox Chad Pinder to a Miami deal gets them some depth. The Red Sox trade Matt Barnes to the Marlins for Richard Blyer. So Blyer's a solid. He's been around a while. Now 35. He's a solid left-handed relief option. Barnes at one point was one of the better closers in baseball, but the last couple of years had a lot of injuries. He really struggled last year. Red Sox recently DFA'd him, and now they worked up a trade to Miami. And Dexter Fowler retires after 14 seasons. So his career is over for a veteran outfielder. And Jazz Chisholm was on MLB The Show. Okay, I don't have a problem with Jazz. He's a very good player. And if he stays healthy this year, I think could be a guy who could break out and be a star. So it could work out, but based on what he's done, I think they're better candidates. It probably should have been Aaron Judge. I can't stand the Yankees, but it probably should have been Judge. All right, time for my preview. I'm going to go division by division, team by team. I'm going to do the American League. I'm going to do the National League tomorrow. So, without further ado, let's get this party started. In the American League East, if I have any, I have some hot takes. I'll drop them along the way. This is my first one. I think the Blue Jays win the American League East this year. I think they live out the Yankees. Because look at Toronto. Toronto actually had a very good offseason. You kind of flew under the radar. You add Chris Bassett to your rotation. He gets a 3-year deal worth a little over $60 million. He's a really good pitcher. Had a nice year with the Mets last year. He's a real good frontline starter. You add him. Brandon Belt, who's not near the same player, but in a platoon where he'll be in. On a 1-year deal. I think it's a pretty good move. You add Kevin Kiermaier. I know they wanted to move George Springer off of center field. Now they can do that. Kiermaier's not a good hitter, but he's a great center fielder. He's won multiple Gold Gloves for a reason. You make the trade for Varsho. You give up Lourdes Gurriel, who when healthy, I think is a good player. And you give up your top prospect, Gabriel Moreno. So you give up a lot, but Dalton Varsho is still a really young player. Last year, he's a bit of a weird player. He came up a catcher, but he was really fast. So they decided to move him to the outfield. And he's all of a sudden turned into a really good outfielder. He's got speed. So he's a weird player. Didn't hit for a ton of average, did hit like 27 home runs last year. He's a very good player, still really young, from our top prospect with Arizona. They picked him up. They added Eric Swanson to the bullpen. He had a great year in Seattle last year. You had Ramon Tapia for some depth on your bench. Now, you do also trade away Teoscar Hernandez. You trade him to Seattle, and you got Swanson in that deal. So you do lose a couple of outfield, but you also you brought in Varsho as well. So you swap out Teoscar Hernandez and Lourdes Gurriel for Dalton Varsho, Brandon Belt, Kiermaier, and Eric Swanson. Basically. And also, this Toronto lineup, it's loaded. Their load lineup is loaded. You got Bichette, Vladdy, Springer when healthy is a great player. Alejandro Kirk had a breakout year last year. Now you had Varsho, you got Whit Merrifield. Now you got, Kevin Biggio and San Diego Espinal on the bench. I mean, Biggio's not a great hitter, but he draws his walks, got good speed. Espinal was an all-star last year. He snuck on the all-star team. This team is stacked. And their rotation's I think will be very good. That's the one area where I'm not completely sold. At the top, their top 3 is fantastic with Alek Manoah, who had a breakout year last year. Wasn't great in the postseason, his one start. But he did have a great year. Very confident guy. You have Kevin Gausman, who last year had a great season. You had Bassett. 4 and 5, that back worries me a little bit. Jose Barrios, he had a tough year last year. And then that 5th spot's probably your Nate Pearson, who's extremely talented but just can't stay healthy. Or Yusei Kikuchi, who was horrible last year, but a complete flop since coming over with that big contract over from Japan. Seattle signed him, and then last year he signed with Toronto. I think Barrios can bounce back. 2 years ago, he was one of the probably arguably a top 10 starting pitcher in baseball, and the Blue Jays, gave up like 2 top prospects for him in a trade, and they gave him a huge contract extension, 7-year deal of like $140 million or something like that. So I could definitely see him bouncing back. And Pearson if he stays healthy, I think the chance to be a great starting pitcher in this league. He's got his issues obviously, but 4 and 5 is definitely not as set in stone for top 3, but I have confidence that they could possibly have 5 really good starts. They'll have at least 3. And also, I think they got a good bullpen. I know they collapsed in Game 2 of the wild card against Seattle, but the bullpen all year I thought was solid. Jordan Romano, who again, he struggled in that game, but he did have a very good year. Last year you had Eric Swanson, you got Anthony Bass, Jaime Garcia, Tim Meza, Simber, Zach Pop, a guy you brought in the trade deadline last year. So they do have a good bullpen. This is a very complete team. John Schneider to become the interim manager did a great job. I'm glad he's still the full-time guy there now. I'll give Toronto 98 wins and the American League East. On to the Yankees. Okay, I do have the Yankees going in the playoffs. I have them at 94 wins. Yankees, of course, made the big move, re-signing Aaron Judge. They were able to get it done. 9 years, $360 million. Now, you re-signed Rizzo to a 2-year deal. He got like $32 million. Very good signing for the Yankees. I love you signing Carlos Rodon. You give him 6 years, $162 million. You know, he's a frontline arm, one of the best starting pitchers in the league. Now you add Tommy Kahnle to your bullpen. It's a solid signing. Here's my thing. I love the rotation. The rotation's loaded. You got Garrett Cole, who obviously I think is a bit overrated. The DeGrom comparison a couple years ago drove me nuts. But he is a great pitcher, at least top 10, if not top 5 in this game. You got Rodon, Nestor Cortez, who I need to see him do what he did last year again. But he was one of the league's best pitchers last year. Montas, who did struggle after coming over from the Yankees, his whole career, that was not the guy he's been his whole career. His whole career, he has been, an excellent number 2 starter. And you have Luis Severino, who can't stay healthy, but when he's healthy, he's a very good second or third starter. I like their bullpen. They'll be healthy. You had Kahnle, who, of course, used to play for the Yankees. You have, Rob Marinaccio came on last year and pitched well. You have Losanga's pretty good. Luke Trevino, who was awful in Oakland last year, he comes over and pitched a lot better with the Yankees. Prior to last year, he's been a little inconsistent throughout his career, but he's had some really good years before. Michael King, when healthy last year, was dominant. You got him back. Wendy Peralta's very good. Efros is solid. Clay Holmes overall had a good year last year. In the first half was untouchable. Second half, a little inconsistent, but overall had a very good year last year. Breakout season. So, my problem is their lineup. It's their lineup. Okay, obviously we all know Aaron Judge is going to do his thing. He won't hit 62 again. That's not a fair, thing to hold him to. But he can hit 45, 50 bombs. I don't see why not. He's Aaron frickin' Judge, for crying out loud. Like, they want to have Judge, and outside of him, they don't have a ton of talent on offense. You have Gleyber Torres is a good player. Last year in the first half, he was probably arguably a top 3 guy at his position, top 5 at his position. Second half, I didn't think he was that great. He's a bit of a streak eater. He's very good, I guess. I like Rizzo. Not the guy you want to, but can still give you 30 homers. Stanton, when healthy, is a beast. Can maybe give you 40 home runs. Problem is, he can't stay healthy. Outside of that, you got Josh Donaldson. I don't know why he's even still there as your third baseman. Like, why is he starting over DJ LeMahieu? I mean, LeMahieu's not the same guy hasn't been the same guy since he signed that big contract either. But he can still hit, for a high average, hit 280, give you 15 homers and 70, 80 ribbies. Donaldson is horrible. He's washed. He's, not that good of a hitter anymore. Not that good of a defender at third anymore, to be honest. Dude's a douchebag, first of all. He's not that good. I mean, the reason he's still on the team is because no one wants him. I mean, I think they tried to trade him. People were like, no, I'm not giving up even like a single life prospect for this guy who, I'm not even sure if he can be, the 20th guy on my roster anymore. And, Trevino's he's a solid player. He's an okay hitter. Okay, obviously he's there for his defense. Kner Falefa, great shortstop. Defensively, not a very good hitter, though. Bader, who did play very well in the postseason, he's a guy he's there for his defense. Great defensive center fielder. Not a very, very good hitter. Your left fielder right now is probably Oswaldo Cabrera, who's a top prospect. We'll see what happens. I think there's too many maybes with this team. I also last year, too, but last year, through, June, this team was the best team in the league. Purely, this is a team last year, I thought, if everything goes right, they could probably win 100 games and be a World Series contender. If not, they might have trouble making the playoffs. That was a bold tick I had last year. Through June, everything had went right. I was like, wow. They're going to win 110 games probably. And then they just fell apart. They need a 7-ranking win streak in September just to make sure they won the division. At one point, they were up by 18 games in. Ended up winning by 7. So their lineup, I think, is not that great, to be honest. I think it's just okay. You have Judge, who's a beast. Gleyber Torres is good. Rizzo can still give you 30 bombs. But then Stanton is great, but when healthy, he can't stay healthy. And Trevino's okay. Oswaldo Cabrera is we don't know what we get from him. He could go out there and be an all-star. He could, in June, he's hitting 210 be sent back down to the minors. Trevino's, okay, but Donaldson's not very good anymore. Bader's not there. He's not there for his offense. Flavia's there for his defense. Like, I think they'll be very good defensively. You look all over the field. Trevino's a great defender. Level's a Gold Glove caliber shortstop. Judge is a sneakingly underrated defender. Rizzo can obviously still play first base. Harrison Bader is a Gold Glove caliber center fielder. But I think their offense is kind of mid, and even their rotation, like Cortez, he's got to do it again. He had a great year last year. He was phenomenal. Seems like a great guy, but he's got to do that again. And Montas, he was horrible when he came over. You're over a 6 after he came out at the deadline. Is he going to pitch like that again? I don't think he'll be at least not that bad. But, we've seen, guys not be able to play in New York. Not just the Yankees. Every New York team. Yankees, Mets, every sport. Yankees, Mets, Rangers, Mets. I said Mets twice. Jets, Giants, all of them. Severino can't stay healthy. They have some depth. You have Domingo Herman there. He's a solid fill-in starter. So you got a little bit of depth there. I do like their bullpen if they stay healthy. Also, I don't trust Aaron Boone. Aaron Boone every year gets given this amazing team. Gets given this great team that is at worst a 95 win team. At best is probably winning 105, 110 games. Should be World Series contender. And every year, the first couple of weeks they're meh. Then all of a sudden they catch fire. They're like the best team in baseball. They're rolling. Like, oh, this team's going to win the World Series. And then down the stretch, they start struggling. They barely hang on. They limp into the postseason. And then in the postseason, they fall apart. His decision-making is questioned, day in and day out. The guy's a joke. I mean, I like his energy in that dugout. I like how he sends up for his players. But first of all, I have never seen a manager mismanage the bullpen the way Boone does. He calls upstairs like, oh, yeah, well, looks good. Oh, yeah, throw out this guy. Like, oh, sure. Like, trust your gut at least a little bit. I'm not saying don't use the analytics. You absolutely should use them. It has its place. But you also gotta go if your gut. You gotta if your gut's telling you to go with this guy. If just because the analytics say don't do that. Don't. Oh yeah. Let's just not go for my gut. Like that's something that kind of drives me crazy. I'm not gonna lie. So I do have some of my questions with the Yankees. This is not the Yankees of old that every year were those it was they're gonna win the World Series. Maybe they lose. Maybe they'll lose in the World Series. Maybe they come up maybe a round short. This is not the same franchise anymore. I'm sorry, it's just not. Moving on, I got the Rays winning 85 games this year. Okay, the Rays got great pitching. Shane McClanahan at last year, phenomenal year, is turning into a stud. They'll have Glass now healthy. I like Jeffrey Springs. He definitely fits, their pitching strategy. As does Drew Rasmussen. You add Zach Eflin, who when healthy can give you 5-6 innings in the back of your rotation. They got a really deep bullpen. Yanni Chirinos can give you length, as can Ryan Thompson. Even got Clevenger. Then you got Colin Poche. Pete Fairbanks, Jason Adam in the back of that bullpen, so they got an incredible amount of pitching depth. But I don't know where they're gonna. I don't know how they're generating too much offense. They have a bunch of injuries. Having Wander Franco health, I think will help. I think he could be a superstar in this league. I like Randy Rosarena, especially in the playoffs. Yandy is a solid leadoff hitter. Outside of that, Howard Ramirez had a good year last year. He kind of came out of nowhere. He ended up hitting 300 last year. I don't know if he's going to do that again. Brandon Lowe has really struggled the last couple of years. He's got good power, but he's only giving you a 210 average. Isaac Price hit 20 home runs last year. He hit like 220. Margot's okay. Their lineup isn't that great, if I'm being honest. It just isn't. I just don't think their offense is good enough. They got great pitching. I love Kevin Cash as a manager. But I just don't see them scoring many runs. I don't think they're going to score enough runs. Moving on to the Baltimore Orioles, I have them finishing in fourth. I have them at 82 wins. Orioles could be a possible sleeper this year. I don't have them missing the playoff. I have them missing the playoff. I just think that division is very, very talented division. They could do a little more in the offseason. You brought in Adam Frazier, who didn't have a great year last year. But then there were a couple of things that flew under the radar. I like them adding Michael Givens to their bullpen. They bring him back. He started screwing Baltimore. I love the Cole Irvin trade you did recently. Last year, sub-4 ERA. I like him. Kyle Gibson getting a 1-year deal. He struggled last year, but the year before that was really good. I could see him bouncing back. Even the James McCann trade, they're not paying because the Mets are paying $19 to $24 million left on his contract. He's only making like $2.5 million a season next 2 years as a backup catcher for how good he is defensively. I think that's actually a smart move by Baltimore. They have a lot of good young players. I really like Cedric Mullins. We're a really good center fielder. This kid, Ali Rushman, looks like the real deal. Santander's very good. Mountcastle's got a lot of power. This kid, Gunnar Henderson, I think he's going to win American League Rookie of the Year. I really like him. The rotation, I really like Dean Kremer. He had a good year last year. You pick up Irvin. Tyler Wells was solid last year, I thought. This team, they have a lot of, their bullpen is very underrated. Felix Bautista, Ciano Perez, Brian Baker, you might be like, who are these guys? Those are all very good young relievers in this league. The rotation, they need some guys to step up. Grayson Rodriguez, I could see him making the rotation. We'll see. Do we see DL Hall? We had a cup of coffee at the end of last year. They have a lot of, this is a very young team. I think some of the always young guys, Rushman, Connor Henderson, Grayson Rodriguez, DL Hall. If these guys step up, take a step forward, I think this Baltimore team could be in the playoffs. If not, they're probably going to be around where they were last year, if not a little bit worse. It's interesting. Is there some pressure on Brandon Hyde this year, their manager? Obviously, I'm not going to hold his record against him. Yes, his record as a manager isn't that good. He's has not had a good team since he's been there. He's had an awful team since he's been there. Kudos to him for even being over 500 last year. That was just incredible last year. If Orioles were able to sneak in the playoffs, he would have been manager. He wouldn't have even been close. Also, the rotation, they're probably going to get John Means back, I would think, hopefully by at least like the end, middle of August. Probably like July, August, they'll get back John Means, who's their ace. Rotation of John Means, Dean Kremer, Cole Irvin, Tyler Wells, and Kyle Gibson is actually a pretty good rotation. So if these young guys can step up, now I think they can get in the playoffs. I was hoping they would do a little bit more. Like I said, I like them trading for Cole Irvin. I like them adding Michael Givens. I even like them adding Kyle Gibson. You add Adam Frazier. He'll play second base probably every day. Probably a slight upgrade over Ramon Urias. But I think they could have done a little bit more. Now to the Boston Red Sox. I got them in last place in this division again. I think they win. I have them at 76 wins. They had a back and forth offseason. They made some nice additions. They bring over Masataka Yoshida from Japan. He was a superstar over there. He's like a .324 career hitter over there. I like them signing Justin Turner, who's older now, but he's still a very good hitter. Still kill it for a high average. Can drive in 60, 70 runs. He's a very good clubhouse guy. He's probably he'll DH for them. He can still play third base a bit. He can play some first. They had Adam Duvall, who can give you 30 homers. The Mondesi trade, even if it doesn't work out, you give up Josh Taylor for him. There's no risk, and he's very talented. Still just 27. Now you made a lot of did a lot of work on your bullpen. You had Richard Blyer. You swapped him in Barnes, so you get an upgrade there. You had Chris Martin. Kenley Jansen's an upgrade in the 9th inning. Even Julio Rodriguez, who's I don't think is that good, but there's still some depth, so they revamped their bullpen a bit. My problem is the rotation. This rotation is frightening to me, not in a good way. Not like the Mets or the Yankees. Like, they have friendly good rotation. They have friendly rotation that could be very good, but could also be really, really disastrous. The rotation right now, to me, this is what I say. Chris Sale, whose arm, who basically has one arm at this point. I'm not even sure if his left arm works. Garrett Willock is a young guy who I like. Played well last year. We'll see what happens. Corey Kluber, not the same he once was, but still eats some innings. You got him. Nick Pivetta, who's okay in the back. And James Paxton, who when healthy is very good. Hasn't been healthy in a couple of years, though. Their rotation has way too many injury concerns. They don't have enough depth to compensate for all their injury concerns. That rotation looks like a disaster waiting to happen. Their bullpen, I think, looks a little bit better. Having Jansen Martin, John Schreiber had a good year. You add Blair. I think Tanner Hoke will get a lot of good innings in that bullpen. I could see Ryan Brazier possibly bouncing back a couple of years ago. He was really good. Also, the lineup is good, but it's not elite. Obviously, Devers, kudos for locking him up on a 13-year deal for worth $300 million. He's a great player. I like Verdugo and Enrique Hernandez will probably lead off for them. I could see. I think Yoshida will definitely make a difference. And you got a bunch of other guys. M. Duvall's got a lot of power, but they're Duvall's also been inconsistent. You don't know where you're getting from Mondi. Tristan Casas, who played well after coming up late last year, still very young. You don't know what you're getting from him. There's too many questions with this team. I like Alex Cora as a manager, but rotation's got too many injuries. Their lineup I think is good, not great. The bullpen is much better. Still isn't the best. This team isn't good enough. And they're in a very tough division. They might have some tough time in that division. Moving on to the American League Central, which is I think the division is gonna be a lot better. I think this division, the top three of Cleveland, the White Sox, and Minnesota could be very competitive. Let's start with Cleveland. I have them win the division again. I'm giving them 95 wins. Offensively, this is a team that was very underrated last year. Actually, they did not have a lot of home runs. They were like bottom 5 in home runs last year. But they played very good situational baseball. I love them having Josh Bell throw line as a big bat with better lineup talent around him. I think he could be a guy that can give him 30 home runs. You had McNeil, who obviously he's had his fair share of bad years. When he's healthy, at the very least, is a good defender. Has some power. So, Jose Ramirez is a beast. You got those two young guys in the middle infield. Hernandez and Rosario, you get from Lindor, both two rising stars. I like Steven Kwan. Very good young player. Outfielder. He's a guy who's going to hit 300. He's going to get on base a lot. I like Josh Nair. Nice year last year. He's got a lot of power. Oscar Gonzalez, is another guy I like. They got a lot of young talent in that lineup I like. They got a very good rotation. Shane Bieber's a beast. Tristan McKenzie had a breakout year last year. Cal Quantrill breakout last year. Zach Prodek's pretty good. Then you have Aaron Savoli running it out. Got a great bullpen. Emmanuel Clase pitched out of his mind last year. You got Karinchuk. You got Trevor Stephan. They got a great bullpen. They got really good pitching. I think this is a really good team. Terry Francona is sticking around. He's a great manager. Great man. And I'm very excited to see what Cleveland does. I have them winning the division. In second, I got the White Sox. I think they're going to be a little better. They get Tony La Russa out of there. Thank God. You add Andrew Benintendi, who, if he's healthy, he's a great player, guy that can hit 300. We'll get on base a lot. Really good outfielder. He'll play left field every day. Then you added Mike Clevenger to your rotations. Then he's got some ultimate issues. I'm not going to comment on that. But if he can stay healthy, I know he hasn't looked the same since Tommy John. Could at least eat some innings. If the White Sox lineup is healthy, it's dangerous. Tim Anderson's a guy, if he's healthy, could easily win a batting title. He's a stud. Luis Robin healthy. If William Amos is healthy. Andrew Vaughn had a good year last year. I know Moncada last couple of years has struggled, but he's a guy. 2019, he had a big year. Even Gavin Sheets had a nice year last year. I like their rotation. Dylan Cease is a stud. Lance Finette, I think if he's healthy, can be a lot better. 2 years ago was a Cy Young finalist. Michael Kopech's coming into his own. Giglio struggled last year, but this is a guy, who at one point was an emerging stud in this league. I still trust him. The bullpen, I think, is okay. It's a shame that, Liam Hendricks, their all-star closer, he was just diagnosed with lymphoma. I'm wishing him well in a speedy recovery. They won't have him for a bit. But you still have Kendall Graven, who I think can hold down the 4 closing games. Aaron Bummer's very good. Joe Kelly's got a good track record. Even Jose Ruiz is pretty good. Ronaldo Lopez has turned into a decent reliever after failing as a starter, after being a top prospect in Washington. They got him in that Adam Eaton trade. But so I think the White Sox will be a lot better. That being said, they have a lot of injury concerns. Still love the bullpen. The rotation worries me a tiny bit because, Lance Lynn, injuries and inconsistencies last year, is Clevenger and Giglio going to be able to bounce back in the back of their rotation? So I think they'll be a lot better. But I think Cleveland's just a little bit better than them. So I'll give White Sox 86 wins. And third, I got the Twins with 83 wins. So obviously the Twins also was highlighted with the Cole Correa thing. They were able to get him back and kind of fell into their lap. But I do like them adding Joey Gallo. I think Joey Gallo, without the shift, could be a dangerous hitter. That might be able to give you 40 home runs. He might only hit 230. And strike out a lot. But he might hit 40 home runs, and he's a great outfielder. So I do like them adding him. They make the trade for Pablo Lopez, and you move Arias, who won the batting title last year, but Pablo Lopez is a very good starter, which they didn't need. I thought that was kind of probably a win-win trade. And I looked at their lineup. I like it, but it's just not as good as some other ones. Byron Buxton, if he's healthy, is a beast. But I don't know if he can stay healthy. Obviously, if Correa's leg can hold up, I mean, it should hold up next year. Will it hold up for another 6 years? I don't know. But if I hold up this year, he's obviously a great shortstop. Polanco's pretty good. I already talked about Joey Gallo. Then the other guys, Max Kepler, last couple of years has struggled. Alex Kriyoff hasn't worked out as a top prospect so far. So, the bottom half of their lineup is kind of worrisome. The rotation, I think, could be better. Now they're healthy. Joe Ryan, last year when he was healthy, was really good. Kind of flew under the radar. You add Pablo Lopez, who's very good. Sonny Gray's still a solid starter. Having Kenta Maeda healthy. Even Tyler Mann, who last year struggled. I can see him bouncing back 2 years ago in Cincinnati. He was really, really good. I think their bullpen's pretty good. Joe and Duran's is a hard-throwing youngster. Jorge Lopez, who wasn't as good at Baltimore, I think he'll be pretty good. Griffin Jackson, Emilio Pagan. So I think they got a pretty good team, but it's just not good enough. Like I said, I think the rotation will be better. The bullpen's pretty good. But, I'm still not complete. Their rotation does still have some injury concerns. Their bullpen, I think, is good, not great. And their lineup, I think, is kind of meh. Their first 4 of Byron Buxton, Jorge Polanco, Carlos Correa, and Joey Gallo, if they're all healthy, is very good. But that back half, if Kepler and Kriyoff are, highlighted by them, even Jose Miranda's a guy did have a good year last year. He'll probably play third base for them this year. It's a little shaky. Finishing in last place in the American League Central. Oh, excuse me. In fourth place, the Detroit Tigers. The Tigers, this team is not good. I think their pitching will be a little better. The rotation, which had a lot of injuries, you won't have Casey Mize this year from our number 1 pick, who was developing into a stud. That's a shame. But having Matt Manning healthy, he's a young star. Having him healthy is a big plus. You having him and Taylor Skubal at the top is going to be definitely a plus. Now you got Spencer Turnbull back. You got Eduardo Rodriguez. Hopefully, I think he'll be better. You add Matthew Boyd. We'll see what he can give them. He's had a lot of injuries the last few years. Of course, he returns to the Tigers. You add Michael Lorenzen, who would eat some innings. Probably better as a reliever, though. But then my problem is, first of all, I don't think the bullpen's that good. I think the rotation will be a lot better. I think could be very good. But their bullpen, I don't think is that good. You know, Alex Lang could be a pretty good club, but the rest of I like Jason Foy. I like Cisnier. Outside of that, I don't love what I see. And their lineup is horrible. This team is not good offensively. You know, they got some young guys. You know, Riley Green's a young guy who I really like. You know, I know Austin Miles, you know, was kind of a odd year for him. You know, Javi Baez played well in the second half last year. Eric Costa, catcher, kind of took a step forward last year. But, Jonathan's scope is washed. Cody Badu, rookie year was good. Last year, he was terrible. I don't know what you're getting from Torkelson, who's got so much talent, but as a rookie, he was horrible. Cesar Hernandez, who might start for them, he's washed. This lineup is just way too many questions for that lineup. I don't think the team is that good. I'm giving them 72 wins. I don't think this team is very good at all. And also, of course, this team, I know they pick up some depth. You get back in the Gregory Soldier, you get back Nick Maton, who I guess you can use on your bench. Matt Earring's a nice guy to have on your team. He's a guy who can play different positions, especially in the outfield. He can hit a little bit. He's a nice guy to have on your bench. But you trade your best reliever by far for what was already a pretty shaky bullpen. Obviously, they just got a new general manager and a new front office. Thank God they got rid of Alavila. Now, I like AJ Hinch. I know he's cheap, but he is a good manager. But I don't trust this team. This team is not very good. Except they're not as bad as the Kansas City Royals, who are god-awful. Okay, there's some young guys I like. I love Bobby Witt. I think he'll be an all-star this year. I like MJ Melendez, who will probably be their DH. I like Vinny Pasquantino. I like some of these young guys they got. Bray Singer had a good year last year. I think could be developing into a real good starting pitcher. Got some young relievers that can throw hard. But also, why is Aroldis Chapman on the Royals? Why is Aroldis Chapman on the Kansas City Royals? They have him and Amir Garrett together. They're two flame-throwing lefties that can hit 100. Maybe not Chapman anymore. That can hit 96 to 100 and have no control and give up a lot of home runs. I don't know, how's that going to work? Someone please explain that to me. In the lineup, that first half of, Witt, if Salvi's healthy, he's still a great player. By the way, Salvador Perez should be a Hall of Famer one day. I like him, Jim Melendez and Pasquantino, those two young guys. But the back half of the lineup looks horrible. Hunter Dozier's not very good. Drew Waters struggled as a rookie. We'll see what they get from him. Nicky Lopez can't hit. Michael Massey will probably play second base for them. He came along a little bit at the end last year. I don't think he's that good. The rotation, I like Bray Singer. Brad Keller could bounce back. Greinke, and they bring him back. I heard he's going to make probably 8 to 10 million, something like that. He's still a decent, third or fourth starter, but nothing more. I like them adding Jordan Lyles, even Ryan Yarbrough. He had some good years for the Rays. Rotation, I think it'll be a little bit better, but still not great. And the bullpen's not that good. I like Scott Boyle. Dylan Coleman was good. Stallman. Amir Garrett's terrible. Chapman's washed. The bullpen's not that good. This team, they got a terrible lineup. The rotation is meh. Bullpen isn't that good. This team is horrible. Absolutely terrible. Obviously, they got a new regime coming in. They got a new manager and they got a new GM. So probably start a new era, I guess. But can't say don't expect much. They'll be in last place again. On Team American League West, Houston Nationals defending champs. I don't think they'll be quite as dominant as they were last year, but they are definitely still a World Series contender, and I got them at 97 wins. Their lineup is one of the league's best. Altuve obviously is a beast. Kyle Tucker, this guy is ruining the Rays. Kyle Tucker can hit 290 with 30-100 and play good defense in right field. Jordan Alvarez is one of the league's best hitters. You had Jose Abreu who can hit 300. You have Bregman in that lineup. If Brantley's healthy, he's a 300 hitter. Jeremy Payne is an up-and-coming star. So many loaded. That lineup is loaded. And they do lose Verlander. That's a big loss. He's still a top 5 pitcher in the game. They do still have a good rotation. Framber Valdez is a great pitcher. Christian Javier is very good. Lance McCullers, when healthy, is very good. Garcia is pretty good. Even Jose Urquidy Sal. They still have a very good rotation. A lot of these young guys kind of flew in the radar because Houston has had so much depth. They haven't really had a chance to shine now. They don't have as much depth with everyone out there. I think they'll really get a chance to shine. I think they got a great rotation. Their bullpen's very good. Brian Presley calls in games. Rafael Montero's turned into a good reliever. Brian Abreu, Hector Neris, Ryan Stanek. This team is loaded. And they should still be, much sure if they'll, win like 105, 106 games again, but 97 wins, and they're still World Series contender. I don't see why not. They've been to the ALCS 6 years in a row, and they've been to the World Series like 4 times. They've won twice. One of them has Masters, but last year, obviously, it does not. Nothing you can say there. On to the second place team, the Seattle Mariners. I got them at 93 wins. I think they go back to the playoffs. They could have done a little more this offseason. I thought they would have made a big move. They didn't quite do that, but they did a couple of nice things. They made a couple of trades. You trade for, Joey DePaul loves making these trades. You add Teoscar Hernandez to your lineup. If he's healthy, he had some injuries last year, but he's a great player. He was an all-star star 2 years ago. You trade him for Swanson. McDaniel, I like you trading Jesse Winker, who struggled last year, for Colton Wong. He gives you an upgrade at second base. Wong's a decent hitter, good leadoff hitter, very good second baseman, a lot of playoff experience. They got a great lineup with Ty France, who had a breakout year last year. You had Julio Rodriguez, rookie year. He's a budding star. Suarez, bit of a bounce back. He can give you 30-plus homers. Teoscar Hernandez, Cal Raleigh had 27 home runs last year. Jimmy Crawford had a nice year. This kid Kelenic, who's been horrible since he came up to the majors, has all the talent in the world. We'll see what happens with him. Their bullpen, I think, is good. You have Paul Sewell closing, Andres Munoz, Diego Castillo, even Penn Murphy's pretty good. Bullpen could be a little bit better, but their rotation is loaded. Luis Castillo's a stud. Logan Gilbert's turning into a stud. Robbie Ray's a great pitcher. Was signed 2 years ago. Chris Flexen's turned into a very good arm. Marco Gonzalez pitched better in the second half last year. Even George Kirby had a really good rookie year. I think they might go into a 6-man rotation. They got 6 quality starters. So Seattle will probably be right back in the postseason this year. I don't see why not. And I like Scott Cervais as a manager as well. Right, in third place in the ALS, I got the Los Angeles Angels. Bad news for the Angels. I still have them only at 79 wins, and now I somehow, with Mike Trout and Ohtani, are not going to the playoffs. Here's the thing. I think the rotation. I think the rotation is going to be a lot better. Obviously, Ohtani is insane. We know he's probably honestly a top 10 starting pitcher in the league somehow. Patrick Sandoval kind of flew on the radar last year. He had a nice year. You had Tyler Anderson, who had a breakout year last year at the Dodgers. I like Reed Dempers. So you actually have a pretty good rotation. Bullpen, though, it's okay. Carlos Estes is closing. Ryan Tepera, Jimmy Herger, Aaron Loop. It's okay. Their lineup has a potential to be very good. I like them trading for Hunter Renfroe, who basically is like Mike Trout's doppelganger. He looks just like him. Obviously, what you're getting. If Trout's healthy, he's the best player in the league. If Ohtani's, if Trout will be the best player in the league. Luis Ferdivo was pretty good last year. I like you adding Brandon Drury after a career last year. I like Taylor Ward. Jared Walsh struggled last year, but the year prior he had a great year. You get Anthony Rendon back, so I think their lineup's got a chance to be a really, really good lineup. And the bullpen is better. The rotation's better, but I still don't love the bullpen. I thought Phil Nevin did a pretty good job last year taking over. So I think it's the right call to give him a second chance during the full-time job. But I don't trust it. They got some injury concerns, and every year something goes wrong. And they are just clear-cut at the very best. They're best team in the division. Houston's loaded. Seattle's really good. They'll be in third place. In fourth place, I have the Texas Rangers at 76 wins. Okay. Obviously, Texas was very busy this offseason. They revamped the rotation. They signed, when healthy, the best starter in the league in Jacob deGrom. We gave him that huge deal, 5 for $185. We don't need to go much too deep into that. You re-signed Martin Perez in a qualifying offer. He had a breakout year last year. You signed Nathan Eovaldi. When healthy, he's very good. Andrew Heaney last year pitched well with the Dodgers. second half. You add Jake Odorizzi, who I think could be a long man in the bullpen. You get Idris Maranta for some depth in your bullpen. This rotation has so many injury concerns. I mean, DeGrom has made, I think 25 or 26 starts in the last, 2 years. Evaldi's got injury concerns. Heaney can't stay healthy. Perez has had injury throughout his career. Way too many injuries in that rotation. If they stay healthy, that could be a great rotation, but I'm not sure if they will. DeGrom's had all those injuries he's had the last 2 years, and now he's, 35, 36? Is he ever going to stay healthy? Maybe 34? And their lineup, they needed some of these young guys to take a step forward. Corey Seager and Semien, first year of their big contracts, weren't as good. Seager, defensively, is amazing. If he's healthy, came on in the second half, he's got a lot of power. Semien didn't have his best year. Adolfo Garcia is really good. But, Nate Lau, they need to take a step forward. Jonah Heim's pretty good, but they need, Josh Jung to take a step forward. Josh H. Smith will probably start in the outfield. Late Tavares, need some of these young guys to take a step forward, and there's just too many, variables. The bullpen's just kind of just okay. I love them bring Bruce Bochy at retirement to be their manager. They're going in a different direction with the front office with John Daniels stepping down. But this team's got too many concerns. Their lineup, they need some of these young guys to take a step forward. The rotation's too many injury concerns. The bullpen's kind of mediocre. So, I don't know. And last place is probably the worst team in baseball, the Oakland Athletics. As you can see, I got some notes here. When I was taking notes last night on this team, I was like, wow, this team is bad. Their lineup is terrible. They have so many young guys. Christian Pace last year, they gave him a chance from our top round. He was horrible. Shea Andrew, I'll give him a chance. They got both those guys in the Olsen trade. So, big maybe there. Right, you signed Jesus Aguilar, who had some nice year, but he's kind of old. He's older now. Adames Diaz is pretty good. Nothing special. Chase Pearson's a nice guy to have on your bench. But for them, he might hit 6th in their order. That's just sad. There's nobody left. I don't know who owns the team, but they have no clue what they're doing. They are so cheap. And Trevor May might close games with them. Trevor May last year with the Mets was horrible. He nearly almost 6. He might close games with them. Their only good starting pitcher left, Colvin, they just traded away for nothing. Paul Blackburn, who's career ERA is probably 4.5. He's their ace. They signed, Shintaro, whose name is Fujinami from Japan. But, I don't know what you're getting in him. I like JP Sears. He got him in the Frankie Montas trade. He pitched pretty well, so we'll see what happens. You got a very young rotation that could, they need so many young guys who are unproven to step out, and they're not going to get it. This team is so bad. I'm giving them, they're going to lose 100 games. They're going to lose 100 games. They are going to lose 100 baseball games. I can see them having one of those, awful, 48, 50, 52 wins kind of seasons. I'll give them 58 and 104. But that's I'm gonna go. I'm not even sure if I did the math right. I'm terrible at math, but they're gonna lose they're gonna have 100 losses. I say 60 wins at best. It seems horrible. All right. That's all I got for you guys today. Stay tuned tomorrow. We will do the national. I'll do team by team for the National League. And I will predict my award winners, and I'll predict the World Series winner. I'll have some other stuff from you guys, and then Friday, probably going to talk a little bit about the Super Bowl, and I may or may not have Justin as a special guest, get the collab between Talking Sports with Jake, my show, of course, and Justin and I show, Jake and Justin in the morning. Going. Until next time, so long, have a great day.